Okay, we're joined by the Oklahoma Sooners head coach Skip Johnson, student athletes Blake Brewster and Briley Ware. We'll start with an opening statement from the coach.
Started off really good, really had a good tempo, hitting a double play, swinging a ball that's probably a ball out of the strike zone, and wheels kind of started spinning. Wiles went out and had a really good inning the next inning. Then leaves an 0-2 pitch. We're supposed to bounce it. Hangs it, going to make those mistakes. Didn't forgive himself, and hats off to TCU. They took advantage of some balls that were up and found some holes. And when we got a ground ball, we tried to roll a double play on a hit and run. Runners in front of him, make an error there, and it kind of really snowballed. Misread a ball that fell into center field. When you do those things against in a momentum of an inning, you lose the momentum, and it can spiral out of control, which it did.
Okay, questions for student athletes?
Blake and Briley, this is for both of you guys. After the inning where TCU scored all its runs, can you kind of just explain what it's like as an offense at that point, trying to hit when the deficit gets so big? What's on your mind, and how you tried to chip away at it?
At that point, we're fighting to get back in it. You know, not one swing's not going to do it. One swing's not going to score 12 runs, 14 runs. We're just trying to have quality ABs and get back in the game with good at bats.
Yeah, we have to keep in mind, like Coach always preaches. I mean, just one pitch at a time. We had really good at bats before that, and then we just had to stick with it and keep one pitch at a time mentality.
Kind of along those lines, it's probably not something you guys want to dwell on, but you both play a lot of baseball. Have you ever been in a game like that where it's that much has happened in one frame like that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is for both of you again, but can you describe the mood in the dugout right after that inning?
Probably can't tell you what I said to the guys. At that point, it's about pride, it's about attitude, it's about playing for the jersey on your back. If you can play up 24 runs, you should be able to play down 24 runs. Really, the mentality doesn't change whether you're up or down.
And yeah, exactly like Blake said. It's for pride. We're playing for each other. That's all there was to it.
For both Blake and Briley, I know that this tournament really didn't go the way you guys were probably hoping, but overall, just how can you sum up the season for you guys now that it's kind of towards the end?
These are guys that I'll call brothers for the rest of my life. So, that's one thing that I know I can take away. We still got a decent shot of getting in regional, and so we just got to go out and hopefully perform. So
like you said, it's a brotherhood. We'll never be able to forget the guys that I met here, the guys that have come before, the coaching staff, the people we've met throughout this game. There's so many things that people preach about baseball and how it's like life. You'll never forget the people that are involved, and I think that's the biggest thing I've taken out of this whole season, this whole career, is making an impact on not just your teammates, not just your family, but the little kids, the people who drive from San Antonio who don't even have anybody to see. Make an impact on their lives.
Okay, any more questions for the student athletes? Okay, guys, we'll let you go back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Coach Johnson?
Skip, you mentioned there was a pitch that Nathan threw and then he didn't forgive himself after that. Could you explain which pitch that was and the result and where he...
The 0-2 pitch they threw to Watson, supposed to be bounced, hung it, tried too hard to probably bounce it, left it up. He pops it up to left field, wind blows it. Brewster goes back on it, hits the top of the wall. That's really kind of where it spun out of control for him. because the next 3 or 4 pitches, if you can't flush that pitch and reset and get to the next pitch, which he's been really good at, and if you can't do it, you struggle. He did it about 3 weeks ago. He did the same thing, and he struggled and he got out of it. But he's always going to fight that, and you got to face it head on, and you got to want to do it and to overcome it.
I know you said on Tuesday you felt like you guys were in good shape going into this weekend, but where do you feel like you guys are now, and what will these next couple days be like?
This is a good question, Eddie. I mean, we live in a reset age. I mean, all these guys play video games. It's not like any of those guys lose any confidence. That's what's pretty amazing about it, is how it's been like that all year. All of a sudden, we struggle, and then all of a sudden, it's like, man, we're struggling, and all of a sudden we play good. And that's the reset age that we live in. I mean, if it's not going well in the video game, they're going to reset it and start it over. And they're really good about doing that. Our first season was the regular season, and our second season was the Big 12. And hopefully, if we're truly who we're supposed to be, and we talk about the Big 12, we talk about our record in the Big 12, how our record is against the SEC schools, how our record is against the Pac-12 schools, how our record is against the ACC schools. If we're truly the Big 12, then we'll get in, because we're the number 2 team, number 2 conference in the country. If we're truly the Big 12 and we're truly the number 2 conference in the nation. It's not about how you finish, because this day and age is a reset age. It's just different. And we could go out. We had 5 teams last year playing the championship games. And so our pitching staff could match up with a lot of people. I mean, when you start seeing different people that you haven't seen all year long, it'll be a lot different. And our conference is really good from really 1 to 9. I mean, our ninth place team beat swept an SEC school at home. We just got through beating 2 out of 3 last weekend. We just got through scoring 13 runs in a doubleheader that we stayed 12 hours out on the field. So if it ain't a reset age, I don't know what it is.
Pitching has been your guys' strength. Are you surprised at what happened today, and where did you, between Wiles and Levi, where did everything after? Did things bleed over for Levi after once this thing got going?
Well, for Levi, he'd been sick. I mean, he lost 15 pounds. He'd been sick from the start he had. That's when it started that morning, the start he had at Texas, and he didn't even make it to practice until we left to go here. I mean, he lost 15 pounds from it, and it was a big-time virus. And so we've had 4 or 5 of those guys. White was the same way. You asked the question a while ago, have you ever seen a game like this? Well, the only reason I'm sitting here is because of a game like this. When I was at the University of Texas and we played Missouri, we had a 9-run lead going in the first inning off a guy named Aaron Crow that was the first pick in the draft, and we ended up giving up 31 runs. And you learn a lot from these outings, and those kids will learn a lot from these outings, and Nathan will learn a lot from these outings. That outing he had today, not that he didn't pitch bad, it's about details. It's about hitting targets. It's about understanding what your first step on defense. And what Brewster said a while ago about the game itself, it's not the 24 up or 24 down. You're playing against the baseball. You're not playing against the opponent. You're playing against the baseball. And that's what really matters in the game itself. And that's what makes it so really unique, because it's an imperfect game. Nobody's going to perfect this game. If they could perfect it, we'd see more perfect games. Nobody's going to perfect it. And you have a human element that they're trying to take away from using video replay and umpiring, and it's hard. It takes the emotions out of the game sometimes. So for us to get that opportunity to go the next step, which is our 3rd season, would be huge, huge. I mean, it would we'll be a totally different ball club next week. That's what's amazing.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Good luck on getting in.
Thank you. Appreciate you. This is Shepard.
I didn't want to get him mixed up. Your moms would hate me. Okay, we're joined by the Texas Christian University Horned Frogs, head coach Jim Schlossnagel, student athletes Zach Humphreys and Connor Shepard. We'll start with the coach.
Well, obviously, pleased to continue to get to play till tomorrow. Super proud of the way our guys competed at the plate. I thought Charles King did a nice job of, just getting some ground balls early in the game when he could have folded. That's the kind of pitcher that he is. And then, we just Wiles started to leave some balls up, and we took advantage of it. So, ready to get back at them tomorrow.
Okay, questions for our student athletes?
Connor and Zach both, you guys start the game being down by 1, and then all of a sudden that 4th inning happens and you guys just skyrocket. Kind of what was the energy in the dugout at that time, and how were you guys able to keep going?
Yeah, I think we've kind of hit a little bit of a rough spot past couple games of stringing hits together, and we were due, and it was really a lot of fun to finally be able to get some hits and stack them together.
Yeah, I think it was just one guy just feeding off another. You see what's happening, and you want to get on the fun. So.
On that note, for both of you, Coach just mentioned that Wiles was leaving pitches up, but you saw 2 more pitchers in that inning. Was there a common thread as those guys, with the mistakes that they're making or the pitches that you're able to jump on top of the other 2?
I know with Levi Prater, I was seeing his stuff pretty well, and he didn't quite have the velocity that he normally had, and he's usually he's a really good pitcher, and so it was nice to not have him not have his best stuff, and we could take advantage of it.
Yeah, I think it was just about being on fastballs and seeing the off speed up and taking advantage of it if it was left over the plate.
Same for both of you guys, or a question for both of you. Is it hard to stay? What's it like trying to stay engaged after an inning like that, the rest of the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty difficult, but I mean, that's one thing that we preach here is just like taking one pitch at a time and just worry about what's happening now. So once that inning happened, it was over with. We still had a ball game to go win. So
Yeah, knowing that we're one loss away and our season potentially being done, you got to stay in it. You can't give up. We don't have that type of luxury right now. So we have to be locked in from pitch 1 to the last pitch every game.
Okay, any more questions for our student athletes? Okay, guys, we'll let you go back and get cleaned up and get you some rest for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Okay, questions for the coach?
Jim, when was the last time that your offense produced an inning like that?
Well, Brandy reminded me, I've been at TCU for 16 years, so in 2006 we had 12 in the first inning against Baylor. There were times this year, where we had a heck of an offense, and we started the season. We didn't score in the first game of the season against Cal State Fullerton, and then we beat a pretty good Virginia team. I think we scored double-digit runs in that game, and then we beat Vanderbilt 10-2, and we felt like at that time we had a pretty special offense, and we've had 15 injuries, 15 guys go down for at least 15 games or more, and so we're just a shell of who we started the season as. So I'm really proud of these guys for competing, but we've had our moments. I mean, if you look at our numbers, they're pretty, batting average and RBIs, runs scored, they're not bad, but it's the pitching and the defense for the most part that hasn't been as consistent as we're kind of team that we normally are.
You say 15 15 guys and 15 games. Are those exact numbers? Or are you
Yeah, we've had believe me, I've counted them up. I mean, we had 15 players that have had an injury of some sort that has cost them a minimum of 15 games and a maximum of we have 2 pitchers we lost for the entire season. A guy that had a chance to be a freshman All-American leadoff hitter, we lost for the season. You know, he was awesome the first 15 games of the year, 16 games of the year. So, you know, I mean, I'm not making excuses. Those are reasons, and not pouting. But you asked me a question about our offense, and we felt like that's what it was going to be. And we still show signs of it every now and then. This ballpark will, those first 2 balls of that inning are normally outs in most places, but today they weren't, and we were able to take advantage of it. And the difference in the game was King being able to keep the ball down when we gave them plenty of opportunities to score early in the game, but he kept sinking the ball, and then Wiles got enough, especially his off-speed pitches, up, and you get balls up in the air in this park, and they have a chance to go a long way.
Jim, what was your message to the team after that 4th inning?
I don't talk to him much. I mean, you got to keep playing. The controversy going on in my mind was what to do with Charles King, and do you take him out and hope that, if we're good enough to make it to deep on Saturday or Sunday to bring him back? But you saw when we brought somebody else in, I didn't want to have to play the last 2 innings, that's for sure. And I know y'all wanted to get on to the next game. So we tried to get him through enough to where, and he's a sinker ball pitcher, so if we did make it to Sunday, I think he could be fine and give us something. But yeah, it was just a matter of Charles going out there and throwing strikes.
Okay, Coach.
All right.
Thanks. Good luck tomorrow.
Have a nice evening, y'all.
Appreciate it. You too.